But we are not yet at the end, the next hiccup already waits around the corner. So, I already mentioned that the mesh model in Blender is an exact replica of the Second Life default character. However, now I want to prove this statement by doing a visual comparison. First we take a photo of the model in front view by using an orthographic camera. This removes all perspective distortions, hence we get the character's silhouette. This image is our reference, and if all is correct, then we expect that our model outline matches exactly with this image when both are raised in Second Life. However, Second Life does not provide an orthographic view. Hence we will also create a flat mesh character by scaling the model to a plane, and then use this plane as the outline for the new model. So we actually expect that this flat mesh and the image will match as well, and can be easily compared in Second Life. And finally, we want to prove that also the three-dimensional model fits precisely to the outline. But since comparing a flat image with a three-dimensional model is a bit tedious, let's create a human cookie cutter that matches exactly with the flat shape. Again, we expect the mesh model to fit exactly into the hole of the cookie cutter. So, here is our experiment. This is the image of the T-posed model in Blender. Here we have the default female mesh raised on ground. This is the corresponding flattened mesh. And here is the cookie cutter. Finally, this pose stand will force my avatar into T-pose, so I can later check if the default female mesh keeps its shape when it is worn. I also have aligned all items on one of the simulator axes, so I can easily move the objects along this axis for comparison. Now let's move the flattened mesh to the image, and see how they compare. When they match, then we have proven that the mesh importer keeps the proportions intact. So, we see no distortions here. The mesh silhouette and the image silhouette match almost exactly, so, test 1 passed. Okay, let's now advance to the default mesh character, and see how this compares. Now the cookie cutter comes into play, and if all is well, then the model fits exactly into the hole. Actually there is really not a single reason why it should be different. So, if we put the camera far away from the mesh and then zoom in, then the perspective distortions get less apparent, and we can see, the shape fits exactly into the cookie cutter. So, test 2 passed as well. Now, let's proceed to the pose stand. Here I wear the female default shape together with the female default mesh. And I put on a full body alpha mask, so that the default avatar gets invisible, and we only see the mesh. I step on the pose stand. And finally, I place the pose stand right in front of the reference image. And check how it compares. Oh, this is definitely not expected. Actually we see that the silhouette does no longer match along the head and the arms. So when I move the camera away as before, and then zoom in, then I now see the character's head is too small, and the arms are too long. So, apparently as soon as the mesh is worn it changes its shape to some extent. Hence, test 3 not passed. So what does this mean? That means the slider values of the default shape already influence the skeleton scales. Thus the default shape is not neutral, and therefore the custom mesh scales get changed when worn.